Hi guys, well here I am, Kirkmans Kamp, which is actually 24 degrees south and 31 degrees east of the equator in Kruger National Park. And I'm here with Brendan Street, the General Manager. And Brendan, I wonder if you could just give me a little bit of history about Kirkmans Kamp.
Alright, thanks Brett. Yeah, Kirkman's is steeped in history. The building behind me is the original 1922 homestead that Harry Kirkman moved to originally as a cattle rancher, and over time he changed from cattle ranching to big game hunting, and through his exposure through big game hunting became very involved with the Kruger National Park, and in the 1950s was eventually appointed as the first warden of the Sabi Sands. And for a guy who started as a hunter, he became instrumental in conserving wildlife, and as the warden of the Sabi Sands stopped hunting in the Sabi Sands completely by the late 1970s, and began with the reserves, working with the different owners in promoting what is now renowned as one of the best places in the world to view the Big Five.
And what do you think sets Kirkmans apart? What makes it unique?
I think the history plays a massive part. You know, it's something that's really, really different to a lot of our other lodges in our portfolio. The fact that your rooms are designed as mini 1922 homesteads to give you that sort of 1920s out of Africa feel really does make it unique. That and the fact that, you know, from a game drive and traversing aspect, we have access to both the Sabi and the Sand River. So we have about 15 kilometers of river frontage, riverine bush, which makes for some of the best leopard viewing in the world.
And what would our guests, what would you expect to see here?
The area itself is world famous for the Big Five, and probably one of the best places in Africa to come and view the Big Five at really close quarters, so lion, leopard, elephant, rhino and buffalo. Great general game as well with giraffe and zebra, hippos in the rivers, so you know it's a great overall experience, but particularly famous for the Big Five and particularly the leopards.
And for me, the food here has been fantastic. Karen's a great chef, and our guests are leaving a couple of kilos heavier, I think, Brendan. But can you tell me a bit about the food and where you source your local produce and things from?
Alright, so the food is all produced locally. It gets delivered to us on a bi-weekly basis. We work with companies like Bidvest, who are based in Nelspruit, to deliver the food to us. You know, from a vegetable perspective, we grow some of the vegetables here at the lodge ourselves as part of a staff project. And the food is, for want of an African term, we refer to it as stoop dining. Very much farm style. Lots of flavour, nice and simple, really well prepared, and as you mentioned, Brett, lots of it.
And well, obviously the food's been good because a lot of our guests have been asking for recipes. And what about the recycle program? How does that work?
In terms of the leftover food?
Well, and your water and things, you know.
Okay, so in terms of recycling food, you know, we try and recycle it nothing goes to waste here. If it either gets returned to the staff or we use it for snacks and that. From a water perspective, as you can see, we're experiencing a massive drought at the moment, so water conservation is a massive part of what we do. We're busy installing systems that will allow us to completely recycle all of our wastewater into grey water, use that grey water to eventually water the gardens, and we reuse as much water as possible. At the moment, the gardens themselves are maintained through the water that's recycled through the air conditioning units.
Right.
So we really do our bit to try and make sure that we conserve water as much as possible.
Well, Brendan, thanks so much for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know our guests have enjoyed the last 5 nights here, and I'm sure our next guests arriving will enjoy it just as much. And thanks again, Brendan.
Pleasure. Thanks, Brett.